It's just, I wish I had it on camera.
Yeah, record real fast.
It's okay.
Yeah, so the public can record Ohio School Board meetings.
Yeah.
Ohio law.
They don't usually like it. That's okay. Actually, it's really good practice for anybody who wants to do it. It makes a difference.
Says even if you don't provide 24-hour notice, you can't be, they cannot refuse permission
Right.
to broadcast, televise, record, or photograph.
What ORC is that?
Rule 4731-9-01.
Okay, so I was just asked by Greg Rossman to not record the meeting.
I hear it. I do hear it. Don't you? No, I do.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
So you made a request 24 hours in advance to record the meetings?
I think, Angela, what was that?
She requested to speak.
24 hours, but it also says the board shall not refuse permission to broadcast, televise, record, or photograph a meeting based solely upon a determination that prior written notice was not provided in a
Right.
timely fashion.
Right.
That's
So
the ORC.
you requested?
But they said you cannot refuse permission even if a timely fashion is not, it's right in the ORC.
It's an Open Meetings Act.
Mm-hmm. It's an open, and you have to ask, just like Angela professionally
And it's not
and
in-
properly asked to speak tonight, and she got privilege to do so.
No, I'm not speaking.
No, nobody asked you to speak,
I'm just recording a public
which
meeting.
you have to ask to do in advance.
No.
At the end it says, the board shall not refuse permission. It says in order to promote orderly transaction of business, they request at least a 24-hour prior to the meeting, but it says you cannot refuse permission to broadcast, televise, record, or photograph a meeting based solely upon the determination that prior written notice was not provided in a timely fashion.
She technically never asked to record 24 hours in advance.
No, they won't. If they're around. You can't do that.
No,
There are additional copies of the agenda available now for anybody that needs one.
And they're not all stapled. They're not stapled.
Greg. That's what Michaela said. You need a bouncer. Who else is? Yeah. We used to have another one coming away. We used to have Andy last year too. We're just gonna put that down there for now. We have one of the ones that can't use.
Me? I do not need an agenda.
I'm used to dealing with that, so. Oh no, I'm crazy.
I just pulled up on my computer.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the Monday, March 24th, 2025 Riverdale Board of Education meeting. Call to order, Mrs. Glover. Mr. Butler. Here. Mr. Clark. Here. Mrs. Portat. Here. Mr. Fletcher. Here. Mrs. Walters. Here. If you could all please stand for the pledge of allegiance, followed by a short prayer.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Lord, we thank you for bringing us together this time. We ask you to guide us in our decisions. We ask you to bless our school, bring peace and prosperity to it. In your name, amen. Item 2, reports and announcements. Staff member of the month.
I believe Mr. Rader's maybe out there, if he could step in.
You're not Mr.
Okay. He's probably musical, but we'll get him down here for the picture. So if you don't know, Ethan Rader is our assistant technology coordinator. Came on board this year. Not unfamiliar with the district, a grad, always here, basically volunteered his time the 2 previous years until we employed him. So we want to thank him for all that free time, and then now that we can actually repay him. So what he does is just unmeasurable day-to-day technology needs. All the tech support that comes in and all the things that are needed day-to-day, we really appreciate it. But above that, he's kind of, I don't know if you've been to some of our performances, and you will if you're at the plays, he's kind of sliding into that Dave Neal role. He's the guy that's there doing the lights and the sound and stuff. So hopefully we found our Dave for the next 30 years too. But want to thank Ethan for all the extra work. He goes above and beyond, and we'll go down and get him down here for the picture. So Ethan Rader, Employee of the Month.
High school student of the month. Mr. Evans.
Our high school student of the month is Mr. Ethan Elwood. This is a good dude right here. Ethan's a senior. I'm going to read some of the things here in his involvement in the community. He's helped out throughout the community doing landscaping. He's also active in his church youth group, his church men's group, his church Bible studies group, and his church young adult group. So we like church. Ethan also has done a lot of things here. I better put this down because your handwriting looks like mine. He's played soccer and basketball all 4 years at high school. He lettered 4 years in soccer, was a scholar athlete all 4 years, 2-year honorable mention in whatever, that's the NOASC or something. First 1 year, second team in all league, 1 year all district honorable mention. I didn't know this was a stat, but he has the school record for career non-goalie saves with 6. School record non-goalie saves in the game with 3. That was a heck of a game. Lettered 3 years in basketball, scholar athlete 4 years, 3-year honorable mention all BVC. Was the co-defensive player for the team award and the senior captain in both soccer and basketball. He has a 3.957 grade point average. He's taken multiple CCP classes throughout high school. He's a 4-year academic winner and AB honor roll his entire high school career. And like we said, a scholar athlete for 4 years in soccer and basketball. And he plans to major in early childhood education and attend OU, future Bobcat, minoring in coaching as well. So Ethan Elwood is a fantastic person, and we're very glad that he came.
Middle school student of the month.
Middle school. This little guy here is quite a man. Kingston Hall, our 7th grader. Kingston is his grandparents, Dave and Angie, are here. He has one sister, Kennedy, who is in 4th grade. Kingston was nominated for, he does a lot of things, a lot of super things, but he's been really, took it upon himself for the last month or so. We had a student that was injured at school, and she is in a wheelchair, and his kindness and willingness to help out was just above and beyond. Kingston took it upon himself to start helping the student. He pushes the wheelchair, puts items in the student's book bag, carries their items, picks up their supplies, does all of that on his own. No one asked him to at all. Kingston's excited to take agriculture, food, and natural resources next year because his family is really into FFA. Currently, his favorite class is World Studies. His favorite activity in school is making ice cream and Intro to Ag. He has really good attendance. He's only missed one day of school this entire year and has always had C's or better in all of his classes. So Kingston has done a great job. His kindness and hard work have not gone unnoticed. So congratulations.
Kaylee Graber, come on up.
This is Kaylee. She's a 5th grade student in Mr. Fry's homeroom. She's the daughter of AJ and JC Graber of Forest, and she has one brother. She also has 2 dogs and how many did there be there? 2?
Or get like a couple.
Oh, a couple. She's going to take to fair this year, as well as 1 rabbit. And Mr. Fry had some nice things to say about you. He said that he nominated you because, well, she demonstrates the skills of a leader, a good classmate and friend, and she's a hardworking, driven student. She always strives to do her best in all of her classes and is always willing to help others. She is a very outgoing individual who is always very positive and has an infectious smile. She leads by example. She always follows directions, encourages her classmates and completes her work on time. She has come out of her shell since the start of the year, and she likes to give some sass with her responses. But they are always funny and lighten up the mood of the classroom. He is very proud of you and wants you to, and what you have accomplished this school year. At school, she enjoys hanging out with her friends, and her favorite subject is reading. At home, she likes to craft, such as coloring and beaded work. And outside of school, she's involved in all-star cheer and 4-H. And her favorite food is Dad's grilled steak served medium. And when she grows up, she would like to become a hairstylist like her mom. So congratulations, All right. And next, but not least, Maverick Bostic, come on up. This is Maverick. He is a 2nd grade student in Mrs. Farmer's class, and he is the son of Drew and Carly Bostic of Van Loo. He has 3 younger sisters, so makes him a big, big, big brother. He also has 4 fish, 2 dogs, and 1 cat. Mrs. Farmer had some nice things to say about you, Matt. She nominated Maverick because he is an exceptional kid. He truly loves school and is excited to come every day. He excels academically and pushes himself to always be engaged in learning while he is at school. He loves to read, and his math skills are fantastic. He is already working on multiplication and division. Wow. And Maverick participates in the tag program at school each week. He loves to play soccer, basketball, baseball, but says that soccer is his favorite. Maverick adores his 3 younger sisters. He loves to share about adventures he has had with his family, including his extended family, who are very involved in his life. What is most incredible about Maverick is how incredibly kind and truly genuine he is. At school, he told me that he enjoys going to Mrs. Dapper's tag class and gym class because sometimes, you know, when it's cold outside, we don't get to go outside to play at recess. So they can still get exercise by going to gym. I'm sure Mrs. Spire, you would like to hear that. He also enjoys seeing his friends after a long weekend. So coming back on Mondays are fun. At home, he enjoys coming home and seeing his sisters run out to meet him. And he enjoys playing catch with his dad and practicing soccer outside. His favorite food is Mom's cheese pizza. Congratulations, Maverick.
At this time, can we have all the students of the month meet Mr. Rossman for a picture?
And Ethan.
And Ethan.
Thank you, Mr.
You're good. You're right. I want to say a couple words before we take the picture. Miss Miller, Ethan, come over here. All right.
We have to scoot over this way, everyone. A little further. Perfect.
Thank you. Did you get it? And so everybody knows this is Ethan Rader, Employee of the Month, do all tech assistant, awesome guy. Thank you so much. We appreciate everything you do. I said some words.
Parents, if you would like to stay for the remainder of the meeting, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we would ask that you please sign in before leaving. All right, Director of Operations report, Mr. Wright.
So, since my board report, today, we got our fuel fill bucket, I think that's what they call it, got that repaired. It was getting worn out, and if it rots out, then the fuel spills over, it'll go down into the soil. So before that happened, they went ahead and cut up concrete, put a new one in, new riser and all that, and then we also had the tank inspected, and it passed, so we're good there. Mr. Wells started rolling, we got the front rolled. He put the doors back on the gator for some reason, I don't know why. He took them off a while back, but he put them back on. So, yeah, just things like that we can get into. Any questions for me?
Just wasn't sure if Reineke Ford has provided any feedback on the order van.
On the older van, they're not gonna help us. Just back it down, because there was substantial price difference by having it done uptown versus from them. So since it's on our dime, it's back there. I think everything's ordered. We're just waiting on it to come in so then we can swap everything out. And the new one should be possibly this week, next week. So it's close.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Cafeteria report,
Mrs. Geis is unable to be here tonight, but she did pass along some notes. Breakfast participation numbers have picked back up. Lunch is down a little bit for the month. Majority of that is just due to absences. We've had a high volume in certain grade levels or across grade levels. I think that's been going around all winter. Hopefully the warm weather is here and we'll get all that sickness and illness behind us. She does have some specials planned here as we go through fish and chips on Fridays, as well as a cheesesteak that's coming up. Next Friday is donuts with Dad for first grade. Thank you, Dr. Greer. And we'll have our Easter luncheon on Thursday, April 17th. That's right before we go on spring break. So that will be a great day. We'll be in there serving our students as they come through for that day. So looking forward to those and much more to come. So that's from this guys.
Thank you. Athletics and discipline report, Mr. Sword.
Good evening. Just want to point out something that I had included in my report. Don't have them here tonight because both of them are involved in spring sports as well, but wanted to publicly recognize Mariah Bottom for being a 1,000-point career scorer for girls basketball this year. Ended up with, I believe it was 1,137 total points for her career. And Grady Phelps finished as a 5th place wrestler in 132 pounds at the state wrestling meet a couple weekends ago. So it may have been the first wrestler we've ever had who actually placed, or if not the first, it's been a while. So congratulations to them for those remarkable achievements, and we do have some recognition for them that will be coming for them for their accomplishments. Spring athletics is underway. We've had a couple scrimmages last week, and this week we start actual games, and meets will be coming up next week as well. So time for spring sports now to roll around. So other than that, unless there's any questions, that's all I have for my report tonight.
Thank you. Technology report, Mr. Vole.
Mr. Vole is on his way to Lima for a performance, so I'll share his report with the board and community here. Help tickets are at a very minimal wait or assist time, and a lot of that goes to Mr. Rader, who was recognized tonight with all of his work in the trenches, so we definitely appreciate that. Mr. Vole has 2 of the 3 E-rate bids collected. He'll wait for 1 more and then finalize that process. He and his team have submitted the 2nd round of the USDA grant. A reminder, we received round 1, which was just over $870,000. The team that will be doing install and implementation was here on Friday during our professional development day in the afternoon or midday, walking around and looking at site work and getting things ready for the end of the school year to hop into that. Positive notes, Chromebooks are ordered for next year. A big piece with ordering right now, as you know, in your personal lives is some of the, I'll call it what it is, threat of the tariffs on whatever it may be. So it could be some salesman jargon at play sometimes. Hurry up, place your order. But we are on the timeline of ordering Chromebooks for the year, so we've made that order, hopefully beating any possible tariffs that may be coming. Summer projects are outlined here for Mr. Vole in the summer. It's going to be a very busy summer. As mentioned several times, we are shifting our information technology coordination, our services from WOCO to NOASK. So that NOASK team, as well as Mr. Vole, Mr. Rader, and everyone on campus will be making that shift this summer. So that will be very inclusive and time consuming. And we'll get started as soon as the school year is out and the students are out, and we'll get started on that so we're ready for August.
Any questions for Mr. Rossman? Thank you. Elementary principals report, Dr. Fear.
First, I want to say thank you to the administration for stepping up when I was out about a month ago. It takes a team when one of us are down, so appreciate that. And our kindergarten screening is coming up April the 8th. So if you have someone that will be 5 on or before August the 1st, please have them register so that they can come to kindergarten screening. Our numbers are a little bit low right now, so I think there's a lot of kids out there that we just need to get signed up to come to screening. We enjoyed our author illustrator, Mr. Jeffrey Ebler, here last week. What a great treat he was for the students and staff. Very inspiring. And we're coming upon state testing next month. So we'll be having that in the middle of the month. And that's about all I have, unless you have questions.
Thank you. High school principals report, Mr. Evans.
I would just start by thanking Dr. Greer for moving a conflict. So we are able to have our senior awards dinner on May the 13th, senior awards night, to give the scholarships and all that. I think the AR dinner got moved to Monday. Due to softball, baseball, track, we couldn't find another day, so we did end up switching those dates. Shout out to a couple of our students. Marcus Roethlisberger will be speaking at the naturalization ceremony next month at the University of Findlay, which is always a really cool event to see. And our Franklin B. Walter winner for this year is Allison Woodruff. So we only had to change the first name on the trophy. But very well, very much deserved by Allison. And then we have gotten the final inspection. All the paperwork, I believe, has been filed to start driver's ed. And she was in this past week, and we finalized with the inspector, who just looked in the room and said it looks good. And she did want to start something, I think, in April, maybe towards the end of April. So I think she said 4 nights a week for 3 hours every night, and that would suffice it. So those will be there in the middle school wing, 503. So unless there's questions, that's all I have.
And that's through Cardinal Driving.
Cardinal Driving School.
Any questions? Thank you. Superintendent's report, Mr. Rossman.
Just a couple things here. Very excited about the upcoming musical. Little Shop of Horrors will be April 4, 5, and 6. That our team down there just it's interesting to see how hard they work every day after school with getting ready for the show. So if you have an opportunity, please come out and support. It is always fun. Cast, crew, looking forward to it. It's always a good time. Several position interviews are currently taking place for the district. We do have a few retirees. We do have a few positions. I want to thank teachers that are sitting in on panels or assisting in any way with that. The district is in negotiations right now with the Teachers Association, ongoing. And April 8 and 9, I have my last session of Ohio State Leadership Cohort 38 in Columbus. This has been a great experience. I was nominated to be a part of it, and there's 40 superintendents across the state that this will be the 4th time we've met to work on leadership skills, and it's been great.
Any questions for Mr. Rossman? Thank you. Treasurer's report. Mrs. Hubbard. Yes, revenues and expenses are continuing to track how we projected they would be at this time of the year. We finally received the last of our real estate tax advances from Hancock County in the month of February. That is standard year over year that we get those advances in January and February. In March is when we start to see those full payments come in. We've received some of those already and are still waiting as we finish the month of March. But of course, that will be in next board meeting's report when it covers the month of March. Compared to this time last year, our real estate is pretty even. We've collected about $4,000 less than what we collected this time last year. But again, without all those amounts coming in, we can't get a full comparison, but we are tracking pretty well on those. Going into budgeting for next year and looking at the forecast, there's of course a lot of uncertainty at the state level right now as the House and Senate debate the state budget for fiscal years 26 and 27. So there have been a lot of meetings, a lot of trainings that I've sat in on to learn what's going on with that, different simulations to view, and that will continue to be monitored until the state comes out with their final budget, which could be quite a while from now and quite a few changes that we could see, but certainly a time of uncertainty knowing what that state aid is going to look like going into the next 2 years. Any questions from Mrs. Bowman? I have for your approval agenda. Moved by Mr. Fletcher.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Butler. Mr. Fletcher.
Yes.
Mr. Butler.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Cortad.
Yes.
Mrs. Walters.
Yes, motion passed. Item 4, items of discussion.
Discussion items here for you tonight. Later on in the agenda, you'll see a proposed music trip. This will be in April of 2026. Mr. Bull has submitted the itinerary and expected costs and all the details to that trip in your report. Much like the trip that was put together, the package combination trip for New Orleans that we just completed. So every other year, looking at the music department and making a trip, this is the destination, and performances combined in with obviously some tourism and visiting and things of that nature in the trip. So that will be later on in the agenda tonight. We already mentioned the position openings and interviews that are currently taking place. I want to thank all those that are giving up their evenings to sit in interviews with me. I do appreciate that. And later on the agenda, you'll see the revisions to board policies. These are all the recommendations that come from Neola. I spent about 2 hours with Kevin Brinkman last week going over these revisions. Everything has been submitted in the report, whether it is verbiage in some cases or new policies in a few others. That will be on tonight's agenda as well.
Thank you. Item 5, hearing of visitors. We have Angela Miller who would like to address the board. And just a reminder that this is her addressing the board. This is not a conversation that the board will have with the public at this time. So, Ms. Miller, you have 3 minutes.
You just want me to speak from my seat? Is that fine?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Good evening, Riverdale board members, administration, staff, and community. My name is Angie Miller, and I am a resident and a graduate of the Riverdale District, and I am here tonight to address the board regarding the potential renewal of Dan Evans' contract as middle school and high school principal. which I notice is currently listed as open for hire. As elected representatives of our community, I want to ensure that my voice is heard. When I saw the position posted, I immediately commented 3 words: "We love Dan." Within an hour of the now hiring post on Facebook, I began receiving texts and direct messages from our community members and school personnel. I will not disclose the names of these individuals, as many have expressed concerns about retaliation when it comes time for their own contracts to be renewed if they speak in support of Mr. Evans. Due to my constant community support, I was asked to lead a movement to support Dan Evans. To ensure that I wasn't overlooking any valid reasons for a potential non-renewal, I did my due diligence and I reached out to many people in the community, including current and former students, staff, parents, and residents. Not one person expressed dissatisfaction with Mr. Evans. In fact, the sentiments were overwhelmingly positive. It is important to clarify that the perception within this community right now is that a few board members want Mr. Evans replaced due to personal bias. These members have publicly discredited him based on their own personal agendas and political opinions, which I feel is unacceptable. A fair and unbiased board seeking genuine change would have outlined constructive steps for educational improvement within our district. During last year's evaluations, when Mr. Evans was given the 1-year contract renewal, an effective leader would have presented him with a course of actions to ensure accountability on all levels. We have already lost talented individuals in this district, such as teachers, such as Jeff Young, Rick Rentz. We cannot afford to add Dan Evans to that list. Mr. Rossman has informed me, regardless of his recommendations regarding Mr. Evans' contract, people will be upset. Mr. Rossman should not have to fear retaliation from this board concerning his job if he advocates for Mr. Evans' contract renewal. Every board member should support this if it aligns with the will of the community, which is in favor of Mr. Evans continuing his current role. I urge the board to share any reservations or support for this matter, as we elect you to represent us. For transparency, the community wants to hear the conversations regarding Mr. Evans' position. Have you considered holding a public forum to even receive community feedback? I have constantly voted yes for the levies without hesitation for this district. I actively share supportive posts every time a levy's on the ballot. This room is filled with yes votes. But actions like not renewing an outstanding leader can quickly turn those votes into no's. We do not want to take a step back, especially as we approach an important levy vote. So I hope Mr. Rossman recommends to renew Dan Evans, and this board, I hope, supports him without pause. I appreciate your time. I'm probably right at 3 minutes. I timed myself multiple times, but I'm gonna leave you with 4 words. I'm a Dan fan, and I think a lot of people in this room are too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Miller. Move on to item number 6, old business. Anyone? Hearing none. Item 7, consent items. It is recommended that the consent agenda be approved as follows.
I so moved.
Moved by Mrs. Fortan. Second by Mr. Clark. Any questions? Mrs. Cortad.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mr. Butler.
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher.
Yes.
Mrs. Walters. Yes. Motion
Action items, you're fine. 8.1, approved music trip. As recommended, the board approve the music trip to Toronto, Ontario, using Bob Rogers Travel Company. Trip is scheduled for Thursday, April 9, 2026 through Saturday, April 11, 2026.
I so moved.
Moved by Mrs. Fortan.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Clark. Any questions on this matter?
I do have one. With ID requirements, will students, because it's out of country, do they need a passport and or valid verified ID? I didn't see that in
I
like.
think we're okay on that, aren't we?
They're okay because there's some educational.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
questions? Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.2, approve reduction in force among certified staff resolution. It is recommended the board approve the following resolution.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Butler.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Fletcher. Any questions? Mrs. Butler? Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortez? Yes. Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.3, resolution accepting amounts and rates. Recommended the board approve the resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor as presented.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Fletcher.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cortez. Any questions? This is an annual resolution that the Hancock County Auditor's Office provides to us every year. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yep.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.4, approve Apogee service contract. As recommended, the board approve the contract agreement with Apogee to provide implementation of rooms.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Clark,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Cortez. Any questions on this one, or comments?
So this is an all-inclusive communication that will be located on our app. That will be, I'm assuming, on your phone, wherever you have that app, where you can directly comment or communicate with that teacher, coach, organization, group, kind of like an all-inclusive one-stop. The goal is to get everybody communicating on one particular platform, so we're not sharing 6 or 7 or 8 different modes as your 6 or 7 or 8 different subjects or athletics or whatever's going on.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortez? Yes. Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.5, approve special education model policies and procedures resolution. It is recommended the board approve the following resolution. This is a lengthy one, all coming down from Ohio Department of Education and Workforce.
I so moved.
Moved by Mr. Wilson,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Fletcher. Any questions on this one?
Yeah, Ms. Schultz,
No, no, this is state, we don't have an option.
Mrs. Butler? Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.6, approve College Credit Plus agreement with Rhodes State College. It is recommended the board approve the College Credit Plus agreement with James A. Rhodes State College for the 25-26 school year.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Butler,
Second.
second by Mr. Clark. Any questions?
Do we have others that are on that same schedule, or just whenever they send us the
They
report?
typically, whenever the president sends that contract, I'll get them on here.
Thank you.
Mrs. Butler? Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.7, approve summer employment. It's recommended the board approve the following for summer employment: substitute pay rate, Michelle Clark.
I so moved.
Moved by Mrs.
I'll
Cortez,
second.
second by Mr. Fletcher. Any questions? Mrs. Butler? Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Abstain.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.8, approve board policy revisions. Recommend the board approve the following board policy changes or revisions.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Clark,
I'll second.
second by Mrs. Cortez. Mrs. Butler? Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortez? Yes. Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.9, approve Hancock County Educational Services. It's recommended the board approve the contracted services with the Hancock County Educational Services for school year 25-26.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Fletcher, seconded by Mrs. Cortez. Any questions? Mrs. Butler? Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortez?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.10, approve generator system services. Recommend the board approve the 3-year maintenance plan from Generator Systems.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Butler,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Clark. Questions on this? I would like to, state that this is actually a 5-year maintenance plan for this generator. Same cost that is shown, but, Mr. Wright was originally told it was a 3-year, I believe, and got updated information that it is a 5-year.
Thank you.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortad?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.11, Heritage Flooring Services, recommend the board approve Heritage Floors to reseal the K-12 gym and auxiliary gym floors this summer.
Also moved.
Moved by Mrs. Clark.
I'll second.
Or Mrs. Cortad. Mrs. Walters. Mrs. Cortad? Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.12, approve retirement, is recommend the board approve the retirement and service, or severance request, excuse me, from Dr. Julie Greer.
Moved by Mrs. Cortad,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Fletcher. Any questions or comments?
So I just want to thank Dr. Greer, 25 years at Riverdale, 35 overall, devoted, dedicated, caring administrator and leader. Thank you for everything.
Mrs. Cortad?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
8.13, approve Road State CCP agreement. It's recommended the board approve Road State College and Riverdale Local Schools College Credit Plus Agreement 25-26.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Butler,
I'll second.
seconded by Mr. Fletcher. Questions on this one?
Isn't that 8.6?
Yeah, ignore that. Disregard that. That's our, I don't know why that's on there. We already
That
approved
will
that.
be
Yeah.
strike.
Strike that from the agenda. 8.14 is not on there either.
8.14 will go to 8.13. What call it is 8.14? I will explain.
Okay, I didn't know what it was. Thank you.
I will explain.
I didn't know
One
if something
second,
was
sir.
copied and pasted, should have been. Thank you. Okay. 8.13, approve invoices for payment. It's recommended the board approve the following invoice for payment as presented from Findlay City Schools.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Fletcher,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Clark. Yes, so this is an invoice to pay Findlay City Schools for excess cost. That is typically handled through an excess cost reporting system. However, occasionally there's special circumstances within schools where we have to bill one another directly. And this would be a special education student that is above the cost that you would typically, or that the state says it should typically cost to educate a special education student in whatever category the student may be in. The reason that I have to bring this to you to request for payment is that the invoice was dated in February, but it was received after the month of February is already closed. Since it's not possible to really anticipate these costs within the year, there was no PO created for this in the month of February. So for it to be an allowable expense, it now needs board approval. Any questions? Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortad?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters? Yes, motion passed.
Item 9, executive session, is recommended the board enter into executive session for the sole purpose of the consideration of any of the following matters.
I'll move.
Moved by Mr. Butler?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Cortad. Mr. Butler?
Yes. Do we need to invite?
Yeah, Yes.
This time the board will invite Mr. Dan Evans in, please.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortad?
Yes.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes, motion passed. This concludes our meeting at this time. No further action will be taken.
I'm sorry, you're gonna come back from executive session, right?
No, no further action.
Oh, there is no further action. You're not gonna take executive session?
We are good here for this session, but no action will be taken after that. The meeting will be over.
The board's done conducting business.
So you will
So you can't adjourn a meeting prior to executive session.
We'll come out of executive and adjourn.
So if I wait out at here,
You can wait.
and then you let me know, and I come back in, and you guys can adjourn
Yeah.
after
If you
that?
wish to, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
We have concluded executive. Coming back in.
Okay.
It's actually comes from. The board is back in regular session now. Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Mrs. Cortez? Yes. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Butler?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes, motion passed.
Thank you.